Hey everyone, this is Seth Kabursky, co-author of the Unofficial Guides, and I'm here today at Universal Studios, Florida. It is the public grand reopening day after the quarantine. I'm here at Universal Studios. I was here a couple days ago, as you might have seen, for the annual pass holder previews, but today is the public opening to all guests. And I've got an appointment over in the Wizarding World of Harry Potter in about a half an hour. So let's take a loop around the entire Universal Studios Florida, see what's going on here, and we'll end up over in Diagon Alley. Come on and take a walk with me around the newly reopened Universal Orlando. All right, so we're gonna start out here. I am right now in the heart of the park at the Transformers attraction. I just got off of the Transformers attraction and there is virtually no line. There are social distancing markers to keep people 6 feet apart in the line. And I pretty much just walked straight, just pausing long enough for a couple people ahead of me to stay distant. Basically a 5-minute wait to actually get on Transformers. A few little notes about Transformers. If you were with me on Wednesday, when I took a tour of Islands of Adventure, I noted that the water effects on the Spider-Man attraction had not been turned off like I thought they would be. Today, the Transformers ride, which is very similar to Spider-Man, they did have all of their water and fog effects disabled. Now, I was told by a team member that the fog effects might just be a technical difficulty today, but it appears they did intentionally disable the water effects. And while we're going to take a loop around, we're going to check out the Scooby-Doo gang. Oh, okay. And so this is the new future of socially distanced meet and greets here at Universal Orlando. Oh, and you see exactly what is happening right there. Basically, people can just come up and they're putting out some social distancing markers right here. So you can come up and take a quick video or photo with the characters in the background. But that's the closest you're gonna get. The traditional meet and greet is done. It's great to see you. Welcome back. Great to see you. So, I'm not gonna take up their time. There's some other people who wanna get some photos. But so that is the future of meet and greets here at Universal Orlando, at least for the time being. Here's something else. Parades are not running right now, but they are bringing out the floats individually throughout the day and letting the guests see the characters standing up on the floats. So here's an example of one of the little mini parades. And they'll come out just long enough to welcome the guests. Incidentally, we're over here right near what is normally the horror makeup show. At this time, it seems like the horror makeup show is still on hiatus. I hope they can find a safe way of bringing that back. But in the meantime, they have set up a stage in front of the Pantages Theater. And we've seen rotating shows. We've seen Marilyn Monroe and the Diamond Bell is here. And apparently Beetlejuice is going to be up on this stage today. So you still have opportunities to see your favorite characters, but you're not going to get a hug from them. So as you can see right here, we've got a little rope line set up to prevent us from getting any closer. And they're going to work their way around the park. All right, so we're moving on. Mel's is open, a selection of restaurants. Not every restaurant is open today, but a good number of them are. And many of them are now featuring mobile ordering. If you want to give the mobile ordering system a shot, make sure you set up your account in the Universal Orlando smartphone app ahead of time. Make sure you have a valid credit card linked to it and that there's a correct billing address linked to that credit card. I had a little trouble with that myself, but I've gotten it working and it seems to be working fairly well. Now we're going to take a look right here. When I was by before, the annual pass holder lounge had not opened, but it looks like the annual pass holder lounge is open now. So we'll just take a real quick peek inside. Thank you. And it's good to be back in here. This is still a masks required zone. But it's nice to get a little air conditioning in here. And they've got a selection of annual pass holder merchandise here, including some cool retro annual pass holder shirts, probably tied into the 30th anniversary coming up. And if you missed Mardi Gras this year, they've still got some of the Mardi Gras 25th anniversary shirts available. Thank you. Right across the street from the Universal store is the newborn Stuntacular store. They did a little renovation in there. They moved the counter to the back of the room in order to make some better guest flow. It's also still got some Universal Monster merchandise, but not nearly as much monster stuff as it did before. As we can see, the curtains in front of the Bourne store seem to have been pushed out. They were further back before, and it looks like they're connected to the exit hallway. That might be an indication of some sort of employee preview, because previously those curtains have been much further back. We'll just have to wait and see on that one. I got a little bit of bad news. It does look like the Williams of Hollywood prop shop is not operating at this time. We'll get a little closer and take a look at that. Yeah, and as I suspect right now, the prop shop, which is of course one of my favorite stores on property, not currently open. Hi, Lynn. Sorry, just saw your comment there. Hello. And yes, we are moving on. Here is the entrance to the Bourne Stuntacular. This does not have an opening date. It was expected to have opened by now if the world hadn't ended. They have added some banners, which is a hopeful sign. On the door, it just says coming soon. Have not really heard any noise coming out of there right now. I don't even know what the status is with the stunt team members who were working on that show. I think that's kind of in a little bit of a holding pattern for right now, but we shall see. So what we're going to do right now is we've made our way back to the front of Universal Studios, and we're just going to kind of take a big loop around the park until we make our way back to Diagon Alley, because that's my next appointment. Looks like right now the Today Cafe is open. It doesn't look like there's anyone dining here at the moment. You know, that's kind of a common thing. Common theme today. I was here on Wednesday for the first day of annual pass holder reopening previews. And while I'd say the park was maybe a third of the way full, you know, it did not at any time feel crowded, but there were some lines for some things, particularly lines to get lockers before going on rides. Today I've not experienced that. You know, if you're a fan of touring plans, you might be familiar with the crowd calendar. I would judge today to be somewhere between a 1 and a 2 on the crowd calendar, just based on the number of people you can see who are walking around the park. Wait times are extremely short right now. See, that's virtually the entire line from Despicable Me, Minion Mayhem right now. I'd say that's less than a 15-minute wait. Likewise, we've got a one-show wait here at Shrek. Some attractions are using what is known as virtual line. This is sort of similar to the virtual boarding passes that Disney used for Rise of the Resistance. They are free to all guests. You don't have to buy an express pass to use them. And you can get them by using the free Universal Orlando app. Right now, I am holding a virtual line reservation for Harry Potter and the Escape from Gringotts that comes valid any second. And once one of those becomes valid, you have 1/2 hour to use it, as opposed to the 1 hour limit at Disney. Now, here's a couple things to remember. When you pick up a virtual line ticket through the app, you're going to be given a range of time windows that are available for you. And you're also going to get to pick how many people are in your party, from 1 person to 8 people. Now, each person who has an app on their phone can have up to 2 virtual line reservations at a time. But if you have 2 people, each person could pick 2 different virtual lines, say for 2 people, and then the other person could also pick 2 different virtual lines for 2 people, which means those 2 people now have 4 different reservations that they can use. And obviously that multiplies out the more people in your group. The bottom line is, folks like me who are single riders, who used to have an advantage, no longer have that advantage because there are no more single rider lines. And instead, people with larger groups actually have an advantage because they can book up more passes. If you were really sneaky, I suppose you could carry 2 different cell phones with 2 different apps and have 2 different accounts because your virtual line is not directly tied to any admission ticket. You actually don't even have to be inside the parks in order to get a virtual line reservation. You only have to be near enough to the parks that the GPS on your phone registers that you are on property within the geofence around the parks. So I was able to get a virtual line pass before I'd even scanned into the parks. Here's Hashtag. It's always great to see him out. I was able to get a little selfie with him before. Good to see you again. Hey. Welcome back.
Thank you. Welcome back here.
Good to see you. The great thing about the parks being open is seeing people you know who are back at work, no longer sitting at home. Now, Universal's employees were lucky. They were kept on at a substantial percentage of their regular salary, even through the quarantine, instead of being completely furloughed like a lot of Disney's employees. But, you know, everyone I'm sure would rather be here in the parks, being productive. So it is good to see people you know back at the job. All right, we're walking through the New York area. Earlier today, they actually shot a commercial here in New York. So, you know, Hollywood might still be closed down, but here in Hollywood East, we're back to filming. Obviously, the area is back open again and now. Here's Revenge of the Mummy. They're using a virtual line system, but it's actually pretty convenient. I was able to get a pass on basically 0 notice. Was able to walk up after a few minutes. And the wait once you're inside Revenge of the Mummy, you're looking at 10 to 15 minutes at the most for all of these queues that are using virtual line once you are inside. The biggest backup at many of these attractions is actually the lockers, but it looks like they're doing a far better job today of getting people in and out of the lockers. The other day, some attractions like Forbidden Journey, you might wait 20 or 30 minutes to put your bag in a locker, and then another 20 to 30 minutes to get your bag back out of the locker, which is pretty excessive if you ask me. So it does look like the locker situation has been cleaned up a little, at least here at the Mummy. I also noticed in the Mummy, surprisingly, the interactive items in the queue that people have to touch have not been turned off. The part of the queue around the sarcophagus, where you need 2 people to put their hands on it opposite directions at the same time, that part has been roped off, but the mechanism has not been turned off. And the other things like the camera where you can see people ahead of you and squirt them with some air blasts, or the hologram that you can reach for and get a little air blast jump, those are all still turned on and functioning. So that surprised me a little bit. Hey, welcome to those of you who have joined us. We are at Universal Studios Florida. Today is the first day of public reopening. They have been having previews for team members, hotel guests, and annual pass holders for the last few days. This is the first day that the general public has returned to Universal since the quarantine began. Looks like the Beat Builders are out doing their show. And you can see social distancing markers placed on the ground for the audience. All right, these guys are really talented, but I'm going to move on right now because my neighbor is having his roof redone at the moment, and I've been hearing that show every morning from 7 a.m. For the last week. I don't need to hear it in a theme park, too. If you are a Starbucks addict, I'm happy to report it looks like Starbucks is open for business. Let's just peek in. Yeah, looks like just a little bit of a line for Starbucks. So as I was saying before, if I was rating this on the Touring Plans crowd calendar scale, I'd say today was a 1 or a 2. If you are a person who hates crowds in theme parks and you don't mind wearing a mask, I'd say this would be a great time to come and visit. I'm saying that slightly facetiously. I don't think it is a great time for a first visit because obviously this is not the normal Universal Orlando experience. You know, you're not getting your normal meet and greets. There's no parade. There's no nighttime fountain show or light show at Hogwarts Castle. But if your main concern is just crowds and wait times, this is pretty sweet at the moment. Okay, so as you can see, we've returned right back to where we started. So we're going to sort of loop around the other half of Universal, around the lagoon. Here's the lagoon, as I mentioned. The fountain show is not operating at this time, but they have been running little mini shows set to music like Back to the Future, which is not on the schedule. It's not publicized, but it is a nice little surprise. Hey, John, I imagine that this Starbucks line probably was much longer in the morning. It always is. So let's talk a little bit about masks. I am not interested in calling anyone out or shaming anyone. I'm simply observing. Mask compliance seems to have dropped from what I observed the other day when it was all annual pass holders and it was the very first day and everyone was on their best behavior. I'd say I was seeing maybe 98, 99% mask compliance. Walking around the parks today, I'd say in City Walk, it was closer to 80 to 85%. And here inside the park, maybe 90, 95 would probably be a little high. It's not flagrant, it's not awful. And I've had enough elbow room that if I see someone coming by without a mask, I can just step to the side. I haven't felt threatened. But, you do see people wearing their mask very fashionably around their chin in case their chin was to sneeze or cough. I guess that would help. But most people will do that through their nose and mouth. Hey, John, I don't know what the status is with Dark Arts. I hope it will come back in Halloween time. All I know is that for right now, the regular nighttime lights show is suspended. We're going to take a quick detour into Kid Zone. You know, I could have sworn that swirly thing had finally been spinning again the other day, but it's not again now. So, you know, they had a little time to fix things around the parks. Some things got fixed, some things maybe not so much. SpongeBob normally does meet and greets inside his store. Obviously, that is on hold for now. Instead, he is doing appearances up on the stage, and we can see right now him leaving his set. Animal Actor Show is operating. They're blocking off seats and rows and keeping people distanced in size. They're also not doing the meet and greets at the end of some shows like they normally do. But Animal Actors is still going. E.T. Adventure. I am going to try to stop into that in a little bit. Let's walk over there. What I've been told is that the pre-show is currently being bypassed, so you don't get to see the vintage Steven Spielberg video, as well as the passport system being bypassed. If you're a fan of E.T., you know the ride is very famous because you give your name to an attendant, and they give you a little card, and at the end of the attraction, E.T. is supposed to greet you by name. And if that has actually worked correctly for you, congratulations. Right now, everyone is just E.T.'s friend. So we're going to see what social distancing has done to Kid Zone. And to be honest, the largest impact of the changes, other than obviously the face masks that everyone has to wear, the largest impact here is on kids' activities. The Barney show is still operating, but the Barney Playground, the Fievel Playground, the Curious George Playground are all out of commission. It's just too many high-touch surfaces. As you can see, Woody's roller coaster is running with apparently one person on it at the moment. We're just going to walk all the way to the end here and just peek into the closed Curious George area. So, you know, the stereotype has always been that Disney is for little kids and Universal is for big kids and teens and adults. And, you know, that's not 100% true. Universal has some great stuff for kids, such as right here, Curious George, really, really well done playground area. You've also got over in the other park, Camp Jurassic, which is, in my opinion, is one of the greatest playgrounds ever built. But these kind of things are closed right now, which leaves significant deficit in the attractions that little kids can experience here at Universal. So if you're an adult who's an annual pass holder especially, or local, this could be a really great time to come and visit. But if you've got a family and you're buying tickets for a little kid, you might not be getting your money's worth right now. So right now we're going to make our way out of Kid Zone. We're going to head through the Simpsons area. We're going to bend around by Men in Black. And we are going to end up, of course, at the Wizarding World of Harry Potter, Diagon Alley. If any of you who are watching has any questions or anything specific that you want to see on the way there, please just throw it in the comments. Otherwise, I'm just going to try to give you a little bit of atmosphere here. Give you a sense of what the park feels like today. Little peek over here. You can see a lot of the seasonal restaurants, such as the Kids Zone Pizza Company, are not going to be operating right now. I was pleased to see, though, that the Green Eggs and Ham did survive. It reopened earlier this year after a long period of being dormant, and that Seuss Landing restaurant was still operating yesterday, or I'm sorry, on Wednesday. I assume it is today as well. Looks like VIP tours are still in operation right now. To be perfectly honest, the waits are so low right now, I don't know if it would be worth investing in behind the scenes or a backstage tour, though they are always fun. Hello. All right, so this is what we call a U-Rest area. There are several of these areas set up around the park, and this is a designated area where you are allowed to remove your face covering. Obviously, this is at your own risk, and you are strongly advised to remain socially distant. But as you can see, there is no one around right here, and so I'm going to take this opportunity to take off my mask. Just share a few little thoughts. Yes, John, Wimpy's was also open. Again, surprising that these restaurants that are very rarely open did survive the pandemic closure. Yeah, this is what Universal Studios Florida looks like after reopening after a quarantine closure. It's honestly a bit surreal. Wearing a mask yourself isn't the most comfortable thing physically, and walking around and seeing everyone around you wearing masks also is a bit jarring. You know, if you grew up watching science fiction like Blade Runner, it's kind of strange to think that that's the world we are in right now. There's a lot of stuff going on in the world right now, and because this is my the Unofficial Guide's official feed and not my own personal feed, I'm not going to go deep into details, but you know, it's a little hard to get into the fun and the escapism of a theme park right now. But at the same time, it's been really good to see people I know back at work, to see families out, getting a little break from the news and from the stress and the worry of the world right now. I don't know necessarily that I'm going to be back tomorrow, but for a first day and opening day, you know, I think people have a lot of anxiety right now, a lot of fears, and this is maybe a little slice of normality. They can maybe help in a little small way. I don't really know. I don't pretend to have any answers. And to be honest, it is a little strange. This is not your average entertaining day at the theme park. But you know, I'm glad that I'm here to witness it and to be able to share it with you guys. So I'm now going to put my mask back on. And continue heading around the park. All right. Yeah, as someone mentioned in the comments, it is really nice just to hear the music, just to have the atmosphere. You know, even if you're not riding a ton of rides today, you know, for those of us who have spent virtually the entire last 3 months locked inside our houses, it's hard to overstate the psychological benefits of having air and sky and seeing other human beings that you are not related to. So here you can see that the taco truck and Lard Lad Donuts are both operating. Krusty Burger open as well. I got a chance to ride the Simpsons ride the other night, and it was a very brief wait. I actually got a car all to myself, and lucky me, it was on level 2, room 6. And if you are a follower of the Unofficial guides, you know that level 2, room 6 is the sweet spot for the Simpsons ride. It puts you dead in the middle of the dome. Usually I'm a single rider. I don't get a chance to have much say of where I'm going to go. But it was really nice to have a perfect view for the Simpsons ride. I also noted that the pre-shows are running for the Simpsons ride. Some other attractions, as I'm going to mention, are not running their pre-shows. But Simpsons was probably because there are important safety instructions involved. They did, however, keep the door between the queue and the pre-show room open instead of closing it like they usually do. You can see some folks wiping down the seats. The carnival games are still going on with lots of sanitation in between players. And it looks like Simpsons, which was using a virtual line before, I believe earlier, is now just posting a 15-minute wait. And really, pretty much everything in the park is going to be about a 15-minute wait once you either get in line or redeem your virtual line. Here's another tip with the virtual line. You're supposed to be able to have 2 virtual lines at one time, but I've noticed that a virtual line pass does not automatically disappear from your account once you've used it, the way they do with FastPass at Disney. So if you've already got, if you've got 2 virtual lines and you use one of them and you try to make a new one and it tells you you've got your maximum, you may have to go into your original one and manually delete it. So here we are at Men in Black. Men in Black is one of those attractions that has eliminated its pre-show. Normally you go into a room and it fools you into thinking you're going to go to an attraction from the 1964 World's Fair before a secret elevator opens up. And then you take that elevator to another floor. In reality, it doesn't actually go anywhere. Before heading through the rest of the queue. For right now, as you can see as we walk by, they simply have the door wide open, spoiling the gag of the secret elevator and just letting people pass on through. Pretty much they're doing anything they can to keep it from bunching up in any one spot or, creating friction. Taking a quick little look here over the Universal Lagoon. Here's another U-Rest area. The Fear Factor Live show is not currently running. I guess fear is a factor. Or maybe fear is not a factor. Whatever. There's no fear factor. This is something I wanted to check out just for myself. I'm curious. Let's see if the Coke Freestyle... Yes, it looks like the Coke Freestyle machines are still available. However, for social distancing, they have disabled half of the machines. Interesting. All right, we're coming up on our destination here. We're going to walk into Diagon Alley, and then I'm going to bid you farewell as I go for a ride on Gringotts. And here we are in London. I see they have some social distancing markers set up around the night bus, but I do not see a night bus conductor out here at the moment. And it looks like the shrunken head is taking a nap. Oh yeah.
Hey, man.
Hey! Hello!
Hi.
I thought you were sleeping. I didn't mean to wake you up.
Oh, no. I know. I was watching.
It's good to see you. Have you seen the conductor?
Yes. He's actually in the back of the bus.
Oh, okay. Just taking a nap?
Probably. I tell you, man. We had to put him in the back because he was not doing anything up here.
So how you been during quarantine?
Man, well, you know, I've really been doing much, man. Not really much has changed for me, man.
You didn't take up any new hobbies, or, you know?
Yeah, I did actually.
Oh, yeah?
Yes, bird watching.
Oh! Yeah, that doesn't work out so well for some people. You gotta watch out.
I watched as a bird just flew by. I also took up people watching. And I watched as the people walked by. And I took up rain watching. Yes.
Oh!
So whenever it rained.
That's exciting. It's good to see you again.
You too,
all right,
man.
Hang in there.
I'll do my best.
All right, well, it's great to see a little bit of interactive entertainment. That's as socially distanced as you can get. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Diagon Alley. Ooh, it looks like we are just in time to catch the end of Celestina Warbeck. Let's go check that out. All right, that looks like a great place to sign off. Thanks for joining me here at Universal Studios Florida. Take care, stay healthy.